Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some books that I'm super excited that are going to be released this fall in the months of October and November, and some of them have been released already, but they are just books that sound super cool and I'm really looking forward to. But before we go ahead and get on into the books, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new content. I post new bookish videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, and sometimes other days throughout the week. Also, don't forget to check down the description box below to links to all of my social medias. I'm going to be going through these books in release date order, and the first one is Across the Sand by Hugh Howey. This book was released on October 4th, and this is the same author of the Silo trilogy, which I own. I picked it up at the used bookstore years ago and just have not read. I know that Hugh Howey has a huge following with the Silo series, so I'm really excited to see how his fans are receptive of this new work. This book is an adult sci-fi, and it is a desert setting, and it follows four siblings as they are just trying to live in this wasteland of a desert, just trying to have a life and survive. Now, in this world, there's something called sand divers, and the synopsis didn't really provide much information about what sand diving is, but it sounds like to me that sand divers are people that maybe go and get supplies or things that their community needs because these people are highly valued. After losing their older sister and father, which were two very renowned sand divers, these siblings have to find a way to survive on their own. Then we have a character named Anya who lives on the other side of the desert, and after an atomic bomb destroys everything she knows, her life, her family, Anya decides to give up all her plans and go into the desert to avenge her community. And at some point, I'm sure these two plot lines will converge and we'll find out more about this desert land, this atomic attack, as well as this overarching empire that seems to control everything. So it does sound a little bit reminiscent of his Silo series, and I'm getting like Dune vibes also. And I do really like fantasy books that have desert settings. I did a whole video about it, which I'll link up in the cards. So I'm all for a sci-fi book that has those desert elements. The next book is another adult sci-fi, and that is The Mountain in the Sea by Ray Naylor, and this book came out on October 4th. Now, funny enough, I was actually in Books-A-Million one day, and the Books-A-Million by me doesn't really have, in my opinion, a good sci-fi fantasy selection. It's just like the same old books all the time, like Wheel of Time and Tolkien and Sarah J. Maas. And I saw this book, and I immediately gravitated towards it because I liked the cover. It was just like this blue background with this octopus-looking thing on it. And I read the synopsis, and I'm like, this book sounds so cool. So it's been on my radar since. I put it on my Amazon wish list because it just sounds like a different sort of sci-fi. In this book, humankind has discovered this octopus type species that exists with its own culture, its own language, and its own type of human-like intelligence. We follow a marine biologist, Dr. Nugent, who will do whatever she can to get close to this new species and study it. Because of this new discovery of hyper-intelligent species other than humans, there's just this global competitive race of people trying to dominate this new information, and our main character, Dr. Nugent, is trying to do whatever she can to communicate with this species. So this octopus species holds the key to unprecedented extra human intelligence, and the stakes are high because whoever can capitalize on this new species, this new intelligence, this new science will make a fortune. And when I read the synopsis of this book, I kind of thought back to the movie Arrival, as our main character was trying to communicate with an alien species. So I'm hoping that there might be some similarities because I really enjoyed that movie. Hopefully I can get this book maybe for Christmas from a family member because it is one that piqued my interest. Next, we have The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake. This is book 2 in her Atlas series, and I did not read The Atlas 6, but this is like a dark academia fantasy, and it was on my radar. It is one that I do want to get to. I've heard really good things about it, just so many books, not enough time, but I am highly anticipating the series in general, which is why I wanted to include the second book, and this book does come out on October 25th. But from my knowledge of the Atlas 6, we are following a society called the Alexandrian Society, and the Alexandrian Society is basically the caretakers of magical knowledge, and you can, I guess, compete almost to enter the society. It's very selective, and it's very competitive, and it follows a group of students that are trying to enter this magical society, and each of these students has a different magical ability. But when I was reading about these different magical abilities, to me, I got a very sci-fi fantasy feel from it, because you have a naturalist, you have someone that can create illusions, but then you also have a mind reader. So I immediately thought X-Men. So I think that there's going to be a tad bit of sci-fi thrown into the fantastical elements. But you have all these characters with their different abilities, and they literally rival and compete for a place within the Alexandrian Society. That is all I know about it, and hopefully I can find some time to get to it in 2023. Next, we have a thriller book, and that is Secluded, Cabin Sleep 6 by Lisa Unger, and this comes out on November 8th. And when I read that title, I immediately thought of an Airbnb, advertisement, Secluded Cabin Sleep 6. And obviously that is a perfect thriller title, because secluded in the middle of the woods, you never know what can happen. But in this book, we're following 3 couples, so 6 people that go to this cabin for a weekend of relaxation and rest. But this dreamy weekend actually turns into a nightmare. So I do feel like the synopsis of this book is kind of vague, because it doesn't sound like anyone gets murdered. It doesn't sound like anyone attacks these people, but the synopsis says that all of these secrets are revealed from this group of people, and someone is trying to sabotage the weekend. So I really don't know what to expect from this book, because it is advertised as a thriller and spine-tingling, and it makes me think that something bad is going to happen to these characters, but that's really not mentioned in the synopsis. So I don't know if this is going to involve some sort of someone dying or someone murdering someone else. I really don't know. But just the idea of being in the middle of the woods with no one around to help is always a perfect setting for a creepy thriller type book, which is what drew me to this in the first place. And then we have The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson. This is the 4th book in the Mistborn Era 2 series, so the 7th book in the Mistborn series, and it comes out on November 15th, and it was one of my most anticipated books of the year. I do not know if this is the finale book. I feel like it might be, but I'm not sure. But I read The Bands of Mourning over summertime, I think July, and I actually really liked it, because I felt like Brandon Sanderson was finally bringing together all of these different characters. So we have Wax and Wayne and Marcy and Steris, as well as some of the Kandra, and kind of making a good group dynamic out of them, because before I felt like they were just kind of scattered characters. But now we have this kind of superhero type group with these awesome abilities that are able to fight evil, and it just worked out really well. And then I also like how Brandon Sanderson introduced so much new information in The Bands of Mourning about people and countries that kind of live beyond Ellendale and what everybody knows, and their experience with the Lord Ruler, and kind of the truth about someone that's been telling them some things. So we are getting a presence from a character from the first Mistborn series into the second Mistborn series, and I have a feeling it's kind of gonna play into the entire Cosmere in general. So I'm super excited about this, and I know for a fact I'm going to be reading The Lost Metal as soon as I get it. Okay, you guys, that is it for 5 of my most anticipated releases for fall. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them, or some books that you're anticipating for the fall season. And I will see y'all in another video soon. Goodbye!